In the bottom left screen, have you got your mic at the bottom? If you click on that. Yeah, I can hear you now. Perfect.
Perfect. I was actually just going to run upstairs and jump in behind Paul, but that's really
no, that's absolutely fine. Perfect. So have you got some slides to share?
I have. I'll just do that now. Just bear with me. I've not actually done this before. That's the one. Oh, can you see that? Don't know if it's come up yet.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we've got that through. CDM compliance.
Exciting stuff for a Saturday night, that, isn't it? Quite sexy topic.
It is. I think you say that in jest, but I'm here with a pen and paper, and I'm excited.
I'm really pleased actually, because I'm passionate about it. But someone's got to be, haven't they?
Yeah, it's like accountancy. Everyone says, "Oh, you're a boring accountant," but it's actually not too bad.
So we haven't lost everybody
Perfect.
just yet.
No, yeah, we've still got 150 or so on Facebook. Yeah, we've still got out to over 200 people at the moment, which is great. So there are still people here and listening and interested in CDM compliance. Perfect. What we'll do is, I know you've got a kind of a donation to give away. So what is it that you're able to offer? So
what I'm going to offer is a hours consultancy on any project someone's got going. So to make it really useful for them is they're going to tell me about their project, and I'm just going to do what any health and safety consultant would do for them on a live project. So I'll give them CDM advice. I'll tell them how to set up the project. I'll basically give them any advice that they need for a full hour.
Yeah. And what would the price of that usually be?
So if I do telephone consultations, that would be £65 usually.
Yeah, £65. Yeah, again, this one, I think we should keep it at £10 minimum donation.
Yeah. What we'd just like is to get those donations for the NHS, isn't it? So £10 is good for me.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. It's a £10 minimum donation, as we've been doing all day, guys. It's got to be a new donation. Email it to Joshua@JSM Partners. Put in CDM compliance, or CDM. Put CDM as a subject line. Let's keep it short, and then one of you guys will win that consultation.
Fantastic.
Perfect. What I'm happy to do is hand the screen over to you. I'll turn my video and audio off, and let you take over.
Okay. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining me for Saturday Night CDM Compliance. And what I really want to focus on this evening is the role of the commercial client, because I feel like that's most beneficial to the people in this group. But before we start, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about me, because most of you probably don't know who I am. And I've actually been in the property and construction industry, specifically in compliance, for about 16 years now, and I've had the opportunity to work with some absolutely amazing construction companies. So I've dealt with a variety of things, everything from simple kitchen and bathroom replacements to £20 million projects. So I've worked on a plethora of projects within refurbishment and construction, and I've also dealt with every type of accident you can imagine, from little cuts and scrapes on fingers to the more serious and the worst case scenario, which is loss of life. So that's really why I wanted to talk to you about health and safety and CDM, is so that you can start your projects compliantly and never have to face the worst case scenarios that is to do with safety. So just make sure this PowerPoint is working. So CDM, so for those of you that are new to CDM, then CDM stands for the Construction Design and Management Regulations 2015. Now, these are the main set of regulations, excuse me, that for managing health, safety and welfare of a construction project. And one of the things that I hear on a regular basis from developers and contractors is that they don't think the CDM regulations apply to them. And I think it's because they may have had some advice given to them by their friends or other people where they're told that their projects are too small, or it's just a quick job so it doesn't apply. Perhaps they think somebody else is responsible. And I've even heard people ask me what CDM is. So there's obviously developers and people out there that aren't complying with the regulations because they don't know they need to. So this is a case of you don't know what you don't know. So I would really want to clarify that to you all and let you know that the Construction Design and Management Regulations 2015 applies to all building and construction work and includes new build, demolition, refurbishment, extension, conversions, repairs and maintenance. So no matter how big or small your project is, or how long or short the duration of that project is going to be, CDM will definitely apply to your project. Sorry, my PowerPoint's not working straight away. So the other thing that is really important to remember in terms of CDM is there are 2 defined phases of construction, and they are what they say on the tin. If you can see up on the slide, they are the pre-construction phase and the construction phase. So the pre-construction phase by far is the most important phase for planning out your projects. This is where you're going to do all your proprietary work. You're going to get your surveys done. You're going to plan what's going to happen on that project from start to finish. And the construction phase is where your refurbishment, your maintenance, whatever you've assigned your contract to do, that's when they're going to carry out that work. But whatever you put into that pre-construction phase is going to pay you dividends in the construction phase. So making sure that when you get the keys to the property, we're not rushing in, smashing everything out, and then trying to just put things back together. We're taking that sensible approach, taking a little bit of time to forward plan what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, is going to really make your projects efficient and compliant and give you that opportunity to sit down and think about it sensibly in terms of safety. How are you going to access work from height and things like that? So it's really important that you do take that time in the pre-construction phase to plan out your works. And for a commercial client, this is particularly important because this is where most of your CDM duties are going to be discharged. This is like your arena for making sure that you're complying with the regulations. And when I'm talking to you about the duty holders, if you don't know, there are several different duty holders under CDM, and they are defined as the commercial clients, domestic clients, designers, principal designer, contractors, and principal contractors. But today I'm just talking about the duties that are assigned to the commercial client. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that is by far the most important person for setting up, or company for setting up a project compliantly and for making sure everything's ticked off. And this is because without that commercial client, there would never be a construction project in the first place. So how you set it up is going to massively impact on how the team around you perform and how they treat the safety of that site. So if you are a commercial client, then that is defined as an individual or an organisation that carrying out the construction project as part of a business or for a business. And this means that you are doing it essentially to make money. So don't be fooled into thinking that you're working on domestic property, so that's not you, because that's not what it means. It means if you're doing it as part of a business. So if your intention is to make money, if you're a landlord, if you're doing a flip to sell it, you're a commercial client because you're doing that as part of a business. So, and the regulations really want to put a lot of emphasis onto the commercial client to be accountable for how they set these projects up, because they want them to understand that the way they set them up has a massive impact on how health and safety will be delivered. So they've put certain duties in place for you to deliver to make sure that happens. And that's what I'm going to run through with you now. So you should be able to see on the screen a list of duties under the CDM regs that you are expected as a commercial client to deliver. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit. And that is the first one, and this is by far something that is very rarely done in terms of what I see in the construction industry, is the appointment of other duty holders. And the first two are appointing the principal designer and appointing the principal contractor. Now, the principal designer basically is going to be looking after safety in the pre-construction phase, and your principal contractor is going to be looking after safety in the construction phase. And these two people are these two duty holders are going to work together throughout all of the project, but they're kind of predefining what areas they're going to specialise in looking after certain elements for. Now, when you're appointing your principal designer and principal contractor, the first thing to take into account of is not anybody is good enough. You need to make sure the people you're appointing have sufficient skills, knowledge and experience to be able to deliver that project for you. So that could be getting them to fill out a pre-qualification questionnaire, taking references, checking their insurances, and making sure that they have the organisational capability to deliver the job for you. And that's massively important, because that not only is going to determine how you set out your site in terms of safety, but in terms of how well they're actually going to be able to deliver that project for you. Because if they haven't got the organisational capability, they're not going to have the funds, they're not going to have the resources, and there's going to be lots of things that are going to start falling down. As well as and the first thing that always goes when people run out of money and resources is the safety element. So making sure that you are picking people to take those roles on that have suitable knowledge and experience is absolutely vital for the successful delivery of your project. And the second thing that you must do is you must appoint these people formally in writing. So you can't just do a gentleman's handshake and say, you're my principal designer and you're my principal contractor. It is the requirement that you write it down. Now, when you do that, I suggest that you are very specific about what you're telling them to do, and you lay out what they're expected to do under the CDM regs. And then you ask them, once you've issued this formal appointment document, to acknowledge it and confirm back that they've accepted the role. If you fail to appoint people under the CDM regs when you're a commercial client, you take their duty. So that means if you don't send out that formal notice telling somebody that they're your principal designer and principal contractor, you by default have to discharge those duties, because you are now the principal contractor, the principal designer and the commercial client. It's a really easy thing to do, and it's massively important, because this is really just making sure that everybody's aware of the role you're giving them. You fill in your duties under the CDM regulations, and it's just making it all nice, neat and tidy for you. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the production of pre-construction information. Now, if I've got any builders in the group, you will know how important this information is to receive as well, because it helps you price the work as well as it gives you that safety information. And pre-construction information, or as everybody in the industry calls it, is PCI, is generated by the client, and it's information that you already possess about the property. So perhaps you've bought a commercial property that's previously had construction work done on it. It's come with a health and safety file. It could be that you've got an asbestos survey or structural drawings. Now, this all forms part of the pre-construction information, and it's massively useful to the contractors who are pricing the work, but it's also massively useful in terms of safety, because it might tell me where there's asbestos in the property. It might tell me about any structural works that have gone off. And the other thing it might be is that you might sit down with your principal designer and you might think that you haven't got enough pre-construction information for someone to be able to price the works and plan the work safely. So you might have gaps that you need to fill, so you might have to get additional surveys done. So this is something that you should be doing as a matter of course. This is all going to happen in that pre-construction phase. You've got the keys to your property, and we're now making sure that we've got the information we need to be able to deliver that project efficiently, compliantly, safely, and that information is all part of that. Now, as the pre-construction phase progresses, you're going to find that information is going to evolve. So as you get closer to your construction date, you may have to keep adding in pre-construction information as you get it in. The next one, my most favourite document to receive of all, is the production of the client brief. Now, if you are not doing this as a property developer, you are missing a trick, because my husband will shout about this all the time, is that if I find out we've got a job to price and there's somebody's produced a client brief, that one goes to the top of my list to look at. It's a document that is massively exciting to receive, and it really gets my juices flowing, because this document explains what you want for your project, as well as helping you to discharge part of your duties under CDM. So this document like outlines the purpose of the development, your vision, design precedents. It's like the soul of the project that you're sending over to your design team and to your contractor. And the purpose of the document is that everybody can understand what you want that project to be, what you're trying to deliver. And it tells them about your requirements and your expectations. And it's also a document that you can really get involved with, and you can start showing your vision boards and things like that. Now, this does not have to be documented. It doesn't have to be put in writing. This can actually just be a conversation. But I really enjoyed to see the documents. It's something I can refer back to. And I'm also finding that the developers that are doing these are using them because it kind of documents their journey from vision to reality of what they've done on their projects. So if you're not doing these, I would recommend you do. It kind of pieces it all together, puts it clear in your mind and puts it clear into everybody else's mind what you're wanting to achieve on that property. And you can put things in there like the description of the main function and operational requirements of the building. So if you bought a building, you turn it into a HMO, tell people it's going to be a HMO, particularly tell your contractor, because it's important for them to be able to deliver your project the way you want it. Outline the motivation for starting the project. Why are you doing that in that area? Perhaps you've got a commercial building that you are going to change into a high-rise block of student flats, and the reason why you're doing it is because there's not enough student accommodation in the area. So tell people that in your client brief. Also, talk to them about how you expect them to deal with health and safety risks, what you want them to manage, what do you want the security to be on your site. Do you want hoarding putting up with your logos all around it? I mean, what is it you want? So outline those expectations in there. Not only helps the pricing, but it lets your message, the thing that you see in your head, come to reality in everybody else's, because you're being very clear about what you want. This is also your opportunity to explain your design direction, and also one of the best things you can do at this point to save yourself a lot of time and energy later on, and to make it very clear that all the messages in terms of construction and safety get passed to the right people, is to establish that single point of contact for any client queries. So tell us who to contact throughout the project, who's the person we need to be talking to when decisions need to be made. And also, most importantly, set a realistic time frame and budget for your project, because we all want it. When we get a new set of keys, what we want that project to be done in a week and to cost £100. Neither of those things are realistic. So it's about you saying, I understand the pre-construction phase might take a month, and I understand the project delivery might take 12 weeks for this refurbishment or whatever, and you put in a budget to that. The next one is the notification to enforcing authorities. And this one is about notifying the HSE, which is the Health and Safety Executive, when your project is notifiable. Now, they're very specific about what makes a project notifiable. And a construction project is termed as notifiable if the construction work is expected to last longer than 30 working days and have more than 20 workers working on the project at any point on the project. Now, it's those two things combined. That "and" is very important. Last longer than 30 working days and have more than 20 workers working on the project at the same time. Or if it exceeds 500 person days. Now, this is often where it can confuse people. So a person day or a person working day is any day in which construction work is going to take place. So this includes weekends and bank holidays if you're going to work, and they are all days that you need to count. And each person days for every person that's on that site for no matter how long they're on there. So if you've got 3 joiners on your site that are working 8 hours each, there's 3 person days there. You might have a plumber turn up for 2 hours to do it. There's another person day there. It's not counted in hours, it's counted in those days he's attended that site, so he counts as a full person day. Now, if that happens, you will need to notify the HSE and let them know about your project. This is a client duty. You need to make sure that notice has gone into them. It is a legal requirement to notify them under those circumstances. And it's really easy to do. It takes about 3 minutes to do if you do it online. If you go to the HSE's website and you tap in F10 notification form, it will bring it up. You just answer all the questions and submit it, and you get like a link sent back to you now, where you can print out the document to display on your site. If you don't want to do that yourself, you can nominate somebody else in your project team to do it for you and to pop that notice in on your behalf. But I would strongly recommend as a client you check it is in and it is up to date. So if those timelines that you give the HSE for the duration of your project change, is that you make sure that they are updated as you go. So you keep them informed of any changes like that on your site. On the next one down on the list is ensuring the construction phase plan is produced. Couldn't be easier for you to do this. You simply have to check with the contractor it's done. The principal contractor will be putting together the holy grail of information known as the construction phase plan. It's the health and safety Bible. And all you need to do is find out that they've done it. Regardless of the site, you just need to ring them and check. I always like to say I'm very much in a prove it industry in terms of safety. We don't ask, we say prove it. So I'd say, can you give me a copy of your construction phase plan? And if I wasn't sure what I was looking at with that information, and nobody would expect you to be, I would sit down with my principal designer and I would be running through and checking that's adequate. Now, this document needs to exist and be in place before the construction work starts. So this is why that pre-construction phase is so important, because we're going to be needing that for when the construction phase starts. And you're going to want to check that that pre-construction information you've given that contractor has been used to create the construction phase plan, because you've given them that information for a reason, to make sure that that's come through. If you've also done a client brief, you'll find that information from that client brief has also gone into that document. So just make sure that's happened. But it's like I say, you can ring and ask, or you can ask to see a copy, and I would always ask to see that copy of that document. The last one, it's a big one that I talk about all the time, is ensuring adequate welfare is provided. This is a huge thing you need to ensure is happening. It's pretty much followed through in everybody's duty to ensure that there's welfare on site. Now, your principal contractor needs to be putting that on site, but you need to ensure it is there, and it is there from the first day your project starts. Now, if you don't provide welfare, or you don't ensure that happens on site for whatever reason, I can pretty much guarantee within the first couple of hours of that site starting, you're going to have contractors defecating around your property. They will pee on scaffold, they will pee in bushes, they will mess in buckets. I assure you it will happen. And I'm not criticising the contractor for that. I'm very much saying if that is not done, that is because welfare hasn't been provided. And it's a basic requirement to provide hygiene and welfare and toilets and hot, warm running water for personnel. I know if I went into work and I couldn't sit down on a chair and eat my sandwiches and wash my hands and go to the toilet, I'd be looking for the next job for me to work on. So please make sure this happens. You don't want complaints from Mrs. Smith as she's having her afternoon tea and she's watching someone pee into the bushes from the top of a scaffold, or something even worse. So make sure that that welfare is on site, is available from the very first day of work. And you can make this pretty easy for yourself, because if you've bought a property and you're having that work done, you can quite simply just leave the welfare in. Don't go in smashing everything out on day one. Keep that welfare, that bathroom in for them to utilise until a solar unit or some other toilets are put in, or as you're manoeuvring stuff around. Just make sure they've got the basic requirements. It isn't good enough to say that they can use Tesco's down the road for the toilets and they can eat in their van and that's where they're going to have their snap on break. Provide some proper welfare, make sure they've got first aid facilities, make sure they can wash their hands. Hygiene is important. And right now, in the way that we are with this country with COVID-19, hygiene, you can see how important that is. Make sure people have those facilities on your site. And what I've done for you on here is I've just popped on, I'm actually going to give Joshua a PDF for you, or if any of you are interested in this, if you want to drop your email, and I'll make sure you've got a full checklist of what you need to do under the CDM rest. This is a list of pre-construction questions you should be asking yourself as a commercial client, and making sure that all this stuff has been done on your projects. Because if it has been done on your projects, then happy days. But it's just to jog your memory. Every time you get a new set of keys, is run down these questions to yourself, make your comments and your notes, and make sure these are ticked off. And that way you will be kickstarting your projects compliantly. So these are the questions. I've popped them up to make sure you're clear about your responsibilities. If you're not, you can go to the HSE's website, you can download the legislation and just look at commercial client. You need to have a bit of an understanding about what the others are, but this is of course something that you can look through it all. Make sure you've made your appointments formally. Make sure that you've checked that your principal designer and principal contractor have the right experience for this job. You don't want, for a start, you don't want a rubbish job being done on your site, your project, whatever development you're doing. And you also want to make sure it's done compliantly. So just to make sure you've checked them out, and make sure they've got adequate resources to be able to deliver that job for you. The project or client brief, make sure that's issued. Even if you want to do it verbally, you might want to do a video log or something like that and send it out. However you want to do it, make sure that you do that, particularly if you're going to ask our company to price for you, because you go straight to the top of my list, because I love one of those. And also make sure that that pre-construction information is sent through. It's vital for the principal contractor in terms of them creating their construction phase plan. It's also going to make it a hell of a lot easier when you're checking they've done it, if you've done your bit and sent them the pre-construction information, and making sure that all those suitable arrangements in place. The other thing that I've put on here is make sure a schedule of key activities for the project has been produced. So you've got your timeline. This is how long you expect it to take. So those key activities that are going to take place, that you've listed those out, and to make sure that you've allowed a correct amount of time for that to be done. The F10 notification to be submitted, that again, I've just been through that with you, going onto the HC's website and making sure that's done, checking the CPPs in place, and that you've got that suitable and sufficient welfare, so you don't have all your contractors messing around your site. It's just an issue you don't want to have to deal with. And finally, sit down with your principal designer and make sure you agree the format and content of the health and safety file. So if you're doing a big commercial to residential or whatever you do, and make sure you save all of the information, the key structural works that you do in the drawings, any asbestos surveys, any asbestos you've had removed, any asbestos that you have encapsulated. Make sure that all that information is going into your health and safety file, and whoever you sell that property onto, or if you're letting it out, that those people have got that information, so that they can make sure that that project, that property stays compliant and everybody's health is protected. So that's pretty much everything that I was going to share with you, unless anybody's got any questions for me.
Yeah, Pat, we've got quite a few questions come in.
Oh, right, okay.
Let's have a look.
Take my share off.
If I, as an investor, buy a residential property in my own name and engage a company to project manage and design and refurbishment of the property into a HMO, is it the responsibility of the company engaged to do project management to comply with the CDM regs?
You are still commercial clients, whether you like it or not, and the person that is doing whoever you appoint as principal contractor has then got that duty. So just think of it, if the project is happening because of you, you are the commercial client, so you need to do those appointments and make sure that everybody else is doing their job.
Perfect. So Adam, would you expect a client brief for a simple buy-to-let refurb?
That's up to you. I mean, you could do it verbally. You could say, this is a buy-to-let refurb. I just want, everything in elephant's breath grey with copper accessories. You can keep it quite small if you like. But it's a great way to document something that you're saying. So you're being very clear. It builds part of your specification. It's going to build part of that overall project. This is where kind of CDM ties in with that construction management. So I would recommend you're going to do it, because later down the line, you're probably going to want to bring that information out anyway. Gives everyone that clear vision. But yeah, you can just do it as a simple paragraph or a verbal conversation. I would definitely do it. It's part of the regulation.
Okay, perfect. Do you have any examples of a client brief at all, or a template? Anything you can share on that? I can
put one together if you want, to sort of show you the sort of things. I'll have to put them together because I don't want to sort of show other people's data. But I can put a template together. That's not a problem, and show you. And I can.
Okay,
send
perfect. Yeah, let's appreciate. What else? Does that just take a copy of the slides?
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll put one of those together and I'll send that over, and people can download it. I'm also going to send that checklist if that's helpful for people as well. Just to show
definitely. I'd imagine it will be. I'd like one just for my sake, just so we've got it there and when we need to use it. If you post it in the group, or you can post it if you email it to me as well, then because all this is going on YouTube, I can ensure that it's up there and hosted somewhere so people can download it for kind of time to come. Any more questions at all? Okay, perfect. So I think that kind of wraps things up. Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it was a really great presentation. I've learned a lot, and yeah, there's quite a few things that people are going to need to be fixing by the sounds of it. Perfect. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much.
I'll look
have
forward to
a
speaking
great
with you later.
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Bye.